Hey, I'm Conrad and you're listening to Be the Man. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer himself. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest of all time, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Rick, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. I just listened to Kevin Nash's podcast. I'm dying.
KliqThis, a brand new podcast with Kevin Nash.
He said something about me traveling in the Caribbean and walking down to a wedding at the pool party with my robe and 2 balloons on. Where did he get that shit from?
Well, I think everybody's got a story of Rick in the Caribbean.
Really? He said, when you got a nickname that's a verb, you're famous. Naitch.
That's pretty.
I didn't know Naitch was a verb.
Well, you are naching. You know, I know that we use it as a noun, but I think when Shawn Michaels won the world title, he wanted to go naching, right?
Yeah, they all did.
The good old days, man. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. We're doing Ask Naitch Anything. You really like these, don't you, Rick? We get to bounce around, do a lot of different topics.
Oh yeah, a lot going on too, man. I haven't found all the drama, man. Jeez.
Before we talk about the drama, let's just talk about your travel schedule, man. Ric Flair Drip is alive and well. I think you were in Arizona. I think you were in Vegas. I think you're in New York. What's your last week been like, dude?
I left well the week before we were in Montauk when the hurricane came.
Yep.
So I had to charter out to get to Montauk, came back, and that JFK is just a monster of a drive no matter where you are. You know, where LaGuardia is real easy to access the city. JFK 30 minutes away. So anyway, long story short, I got back from Montauk. I was here for 2 days, and I left Wednesday for Phoenix. My flight was 4 hours delayed. Got in at 1 o'clock in the morning. One of those deals, right? And finally, let me see. I went to bed about 3 o'clock that night. Got up at 7 for PR for the launch, and then we had the launch. I had media all day, and we launched on, or we had the media launch party, or the media launch at the dispensary, and then a party afterwards for the people that have invested in the product line 2.0 or Ric Flair Drip, and sponsored by Verano, and then took a 10 o'clock flight the next day to Vegas, do the same thing, and stayed out in Vegas. You know, it's hard to go to bed in Vegas.
Yep.
And then caught a let me think. Oh yeah, 4-hour delayed flight from Vegas to New York. They got us in at 1 o'clock in the morning and had to be working at 9 o'clock. So at the Comic-Con.
My goodness. Oh.
Dragged in yesterday.
So you're living the old 1986 schedule right now. You know?
We're pretty close. You know, we'll be in 15 states by the end of which will be second only to Mike by the end of the month.
Man, that's fantastic. Ric Flair Drip coming near you. Check it out. RicFlairDrip.com is where you can keep up with.
Yeah, we've got Ohio, New Jersey, Illinois coming up, all these launches. So, and I'll be making appearances at all of them. So it's a lot of fun, and it's great to see the reception from the people.
RicFlairDrip.com or on Instagram at Ric Flair Drip. Pretty fun stuff. I'm super excited to see this continue to grow and expand, and excited to pick your brain today. But before we get into it, you said you've been keeping up with all the controversy. There's a lot going on in wrestling these days. It looks like, you know, this guy's going here and that guy's going there. Bray Wyatt is back, and boy, there was a whole lot of news about somebody you and I know pretty well last week. What the heck of all the news?
Well, first of all, I'm talking about Bray. I'm happy he's back. I think he's a very extremely talented guy. I never understood why he was gone to begin with, but I'm glad he's back. I think he's very talented, and you know, like I said, one of the classiest guys you meet in the business. One of the class guys that you meet in the business today. And the other thing, of course, I guess you're referring to Andrade and Sammy. What's his name? Guevara.
Sammy Guevara, yes, sir.
Well, I'm family in that deal. only met Guevara one time or twice. He's very nice to me.
Yeah.
Pretty much how I judge people, but I don't think you want to be locked in a room with Manny. I have visited Manny's home. I knew where he grew up. I knew how he grew up, and Manny is you know Sin Cara?
Yeah.
Yeah, Manny is Sin Cara tough. In fact, Sin Cara's beat up half the guys in the business. He has. I know you've heard the stories, but no, it's, Manny's a very tough kid. He grew up. He's not a kid. He's a very tough man. And you know, nowadays, as I've said before, I think that they feel pretty comfortable. Some of the guys saying things because they know the fight's never going to get anywhere. It gets broken up. There's 1,000 people involved, and ultimately nobody ever gets their ass whipped. But I feel pretty comfortable in saying that that wouldn't be much of a fight. But that's nothing against Sammy as a wrestler. I just think, man, he's a real tough guy.
Well,
And
there's
there's
a lot of
not a lot of tough guys.
speculation out
Not a
there.
lot of tough. There are not a lot of tough guys in the business anymore.
A lot of speculation out there. A lot of, from my perspective, inaccurate reports. I'll be interested to see how all this shakes out. You know, because I think you and I both think a lot of Tony Khan and AEW, and obviously Andrade is pretty close to us. And man, it's just a shame that you see negative headlines like this. It feels like it's one hit after another lately for AEW, and I hate that because they've done a lot of really great stuff. I mean, they just had $1 million house for a regular TV show, and they're doing well on pay-per-view, and it seems like the merch is flying off the shelves, and they got this video game everybody's excited about. There's a lot of positive headlines, but it does feel like, you know, there's some stuff popping up here or there that you think, man, I wish that wasn't the case.
Yeah, you just all you know. It's never going to be perfect. Tony's got his hands full. I don't know. Um, I don't know. I don't know the thought process behind. I don't know the thought process prospect behind his decisions, but they have enjoyed a lot of success lately. I mean, Sophia, of course, my stepdaughter works for him, and she's having a great time, and she thinks things are rolling smoothly. So she does a lot of their social media, so she's pretty much on top of what's going on there, and she sees a lot of smiling faces. So hopefully everything works out.
Well, we're pulling for them, and we're pulling for a fun episode today. Let's jump right into it. We threw you guys the keys to the show and said, hey, what do you want to talk about? You can ask Ric Flair anything you want. Matthew Prong wants to know, who was your personal favorite NWA champion?
Harley Race.
I kind of had a feeling you would say that.
Yep.
Did you get to see any of his stuff when you were quote unquote just a fan, or did your appreciation and respect grow once you were a coworker?
No, I saw him when I was just a fan. I loved him. You just knew Harley was tough.
Yeah.
He was originally, when I first saw him, he was Larry Henning's partner
Mm.
in an AWA.
Yeah, I'm
But
back.
as a kid, I remember reading in the paper that Harley got stabbed at a place called the Chestnut Tree in Minneapolis, which was in an unsavory neighborhood. But after I got the new Harley, he loved to be in areas. He was never uncomfortable.
I love that. That's a great line. Never uncomfortable.
It's the truth. I swear to God, he'd go, especially when he was a champion, he would go out of his way to irritate somebody that he didn't like. Just push him and push him and push him. So they either left or they got beat up.
You've told us before years ago on the original Woo Nation podcast.
Mhm.
And once upon a time, boy, the Steiner brothers, they love to have their fun backstage.
Mhm.
And they would, for lack of a better word, terrorize some guys. And it was all hazing or ribbing or whatever you want to call it. And they would give Butch Reed a hard time, but not Ron Simmons. And you famously told us on the show once, you asked Ron Simmons, hey man, what? Steiners are always fucking with Butch Reed and all these other guys. Why don't they ever fuck with you? And you said Ron looked right at you and said, Rick, I'm unfuckwithable.
Unfuckable. Yeah. Ron Simmons is a real tough kid.
I just loved that. It made me laugh
He's a
out loud.
tough man.
Harley Race sounds like a cut from the same cloth. Unfuckwithable.
Yeah, I'm not going to compare it. You know, it's funny. The tough guys of that era, I would say the two toughest are Kevin Nash and Ron Simmons.
Okay.
but I'm not putting them in the same league, and they won't mind this. They won't be offended at all. I'm not putting them in the class of a Harley Race or a Haku, because with them, you're going to lose a body part.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
You're going to lose a finger. You're going to lose an eye. You're going to get your ear bit off with Harley or Haku. Kevin just plain tough. Never took any shit from anybody, and Ron's the same way. Nobody fucked with Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash, Mike Hagstrand, what um, Ron, yeah, all legit tough guys of that era. I'm not going back to the Dick Slaters and all that, but there's two guys that clearly stand out. Maybe the third being Jack Mulligan, but two for sure that if win, lose, or draw, you're going to lose a body part. And I wouldn't, that doesn't take anything away from Kevin and Ron and them. I don't think that they'd be prepared to lose a body part, but they sure as hell don't take any shit from anybody.
Lose a body part's a big statement. That's a big statement.
Well, you get a finger bit off. I mean, I've seen so much in my career, guys go into a fight, you don't know it's not taekwondo, man. Especially in a bar. I've seen guys get hit in the head with beer bottles. I mean, people that could really have gotten hurt. Seeing guys get stabbed. It isn't fun. The fan used to really get out of control.
Yambag Jones says, if you had the crystal ball to change any one match over the course of your career, what would it be? Whether it was just a bad night or you thought the whole program was shit, maybe you didn't get along with your opponent. If you could go back and change one match, Rick, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy. I think I've told you before. I would have submitted to the Scorpion or to the Scorpion Deathlock with Sting instead of small package.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Dave McClay says, what are your thoughts on the business being exposed by Eddie Mansfield on that new special in the 80s? So famously, Eddie Mansfield, journeyman, sat down with Mr. Kossel, and he showed everybody the business. What do you remember of?
I don't remember that much.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean there have been a lot of guys that have exposed the business. So it's pretty hard to pin it all on Eddie Mansfield.
In the 80s, though, this is the same John Stossel that went out and challenged, or I guess didn't really challenge, but he said to Dr. D, David Schultz,
who knocked him out.
This is all fake, right? So this is the same sort of line of questioning. What was the industry opinion of Mr. Schultz after he slapped the shit out of John?
I think the industry, the boys loved him for it.
Yes, absolutely.
It, of course, got him in a lot of trouble, but Dave Schultz was a pretty tough guy too. I understand. I've only met him several times. I've only worked with him once, I think, but I don't think he was anybody to mess around with either.
Nope, I don't get that impression at all.
Yeah, and I think the boys. I mean, I thought it was cool.
I guess what
I can't even tell you what would have happened to Stossel if he'd said it to Harley Race.
If everyone thought, in the industry, that Dr. D did the right thing and was a hero amongst the boys for slapping John Stossel, that pretty much means the opposite for Eddie Mansfield in that era, right? I mean, you can't go on TV and expose the business and feel like everything's going to be okay in this fraternity, right?
Yeah, not absolutely, you can't. We make jokes about it now because it's so widely exposed, and it's been exposed so badly. That it's a physically, impossibly, incredibly insensitive, tough sport. No matter how you look at it today, tomorrow, yesterday, 30 years ago. Dangerous. I mean, and it's a year-round sport. You never really have a chance to get to heal if you have an issue, unless you take time off, which in some cases will cost you money. I think the WWE, I'm not sure what Tony does, but WWE has done a really good job of giving people time off for personal reasons and for health reasons. So I'm pretty sure Tony has the same policy.
Oh yeah. Well, and
That was unheard of in the 70s and 80s. He didn't go to work, he didn't get paid.
well, a lot of us still, trudge through life that way, and it's a grind. And I actually started using AG1 because my wife encouraged me to. She wanted us to optimize our immune system. We actually started this at the start of the pandemic, but now AG1 and Athletic Greens is a regular part of my life because with one delicious scoop of AG1, I know I'm absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens that are going to help me start my day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your focus, your recovery, your aging, all the things. And it's been a big deal for me because it helps my sleep quality and recovery. Most importantly, it helps my mental clarity and my alertness. But I know our friend Dallas, he loves the idea that this has less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, no artificial anything. Most importantly for me, it still tastes good. It's also lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto or paleo or vegan or dairy free or gluten free, it's like nutritional health insurance, right? It's going to keep you from getting sick, make you feel better. It's working for me. You're going to love it. Don't just take my word for it or Rick's word for it. Athletic Greens has more than 7,000 5-star reviews. And we think it's time for you to reclaim your health. Arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It really is just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different supplements or pills to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Flair. That's athleticgreens.com/Flair to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Athleticgreens.com/Flair. So, Rick, Jeremy Priest has a good question. Over on William Regal's podcast, Gentleman Villain, he mentioned you picked him as your opponent for your very last match in Japan, and he was very honored. What led you to that decision? Why'd you pick Mr. Regal?
I love Steve Regal. I think he's a fantastic guy. He's a man, legitimately tough guy. Always a gentleman. Always carries himself well. Respectful as hell. I mean, I can't think of too many people that respect more than Steve.
You had a fantastic last man standing match at Survivor Series 2005 with Triple H. WWE Master 2018 on Twitter wants to know, what are your memories of that match? Were you pleased with it when it was done?
Yeah, I was very pleased with it. Once again, it's one of those deals where Hunter carried me. He talked me through it. So, I was always comfortable with Hunter. I thought he was great. And he carried me and supported me and pushed me. And he, like Sean and so many others back then when I was really struggling with self-confidence issues, were always there for me. So the match I had with him in San Diego prior to that, the cage match, was really something too that I was proud of.
Wesley Stover wants to know, what's your favorite meal to order at a fancy restaurant?
Tell him it's always to go. I never confuse the two. You don't eat and drink. That's not healthy. But if you eat and drink together, it just creates a big cesspool in your stomach, in your digestive system. So you drink, then you get food to go. Now, at Nick and Sam's and Dallas, I might eat some food along the way.
My goodness. Seth Hicks wants to know, other than the big gold, what's your favorite championship belt design of all time? I think you've told us before. It's the original 10 pounds, right?
It's the NWA, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Next up, Coach Rosie wants to know, who's going to win the 2023 Cannabis Cup and why is it Ric Flair drip? So tell us about the Cannabis Cup. I don't know anything about that.
I don't know about to give you an accurate explanation either. I wish I did. They were explaining it to me, but I was trying to absorb so much information over the weekend from the people that not only the local people that sell it at the dispensaries, but the pricing and all that. And Someone started to explain that to me, and I don't know. I'll have the answer for you next week.
Matt Richards wants to know, why was the main event of Starrcade 84 so short? Was there an injury, time restraints, etc.? As a reminder, Starrcade 1984 was a big one. The first one was the Flair for the gold.
Yep.
But 84 was the $1 million challenge in the main event. Who goes on last? Well, who else? Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. You had Smokin' Joe Frazier as the special guest referee, but you were known for having really long matches. This one only goes 12 minutes.
It went because of Joe.
Okay.
He messed it up.
I got you.
Something he wasn't that familiar with, and he just made a mistake. If you look back on it, he called the match too early, way too early. He just panicked, not knowing what he was doing.
I'd never heard that story. That's fantastic. Yeah. Matt Richards also has a follow-up here. Did you get to hang out with Hot Rod at the Portland 50th anniversary show in May of 85?
Yes.
He wrestled Buddy Rose on that card as a face, but it's the height of his WWF heel run here in 85.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about that show?
I don't think I was at that show. Or if I was, I wrestled Billy Jack. I'd have to look back on that. But, Buddy Rose was a hell of a worker. He didn't look like he could work like that, but he was a hell of a worker. And of course, Roddy, one of my all-time favorites. So he always, he loved Don Owen. Don Owen loved him. And I think Don always felt like that Roddy brought more national attention to his territory than anybody else, including the NWA champion, which is probably true.
George Jones wants to know, what was your reaction when you found out you would ultimately be the Black Scorpion?
I volunteered. We had nobody else. It was going to be either be Barry. It would have been Barry, me, or Arn. And Arn and Barry that night went out and had a hell of a match with Doom, with Butch and Ron. And I just had to take the role on. It was my responsibility. So,
only really you got in the corner with that. Did he not?
In that position, you got to figure it cracked me, but it would have cracked everybody worse. Ask Shivani. Sting.
How can you contend with this? We're coming up on the 25th anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob. Adam Arpin wants to know, how would Ric Flair have handled himself if he had been in Bret's shoes and the bell was rung directly after Ric was put in his own figure 4?
I'd have been pissed.
Yeah.
I would have been very upset.
You think you would have handled it the same way Bret did, or would you have handled it differently? Or,
well, I think it's because in a difference in our age that even like the reason I'm sitting here today is, and I've had to learn, I've been forced to learn how to move on.
Yeah.
And I understand. I just was with Bret. Bret actually came out to Kid Rock's that night.
Yeah.
After the show, and I spent more time with Bret in the last couple of weeks at a signing and then that weekend. I don't remember. I just think that you can carry that burden on your back for so long, and then all of a sudden, I think it just becomes something that you just have to let go of it. I certainly understand why he was mad. I don't know the exact circumstances, but I think that they wanted him to. I can't imagine Bret wanting to leave and go to Raw with the belt. Wasn't there another alternative that was offered?
Well, yeah. Ultimately, what they agreed on was some sort of a screw job schmoz finish. He was going to come out on Raw the next night and just forfeit the title. But we've often said,
oh, but see that's the same thing. He wanted to come out on Raw and forfeit it.
Yes, as opposed to.
I understand why that couldn't happen.
Yeah,
I totally understand why that couldn't happen.
We had a conversation recently about what if with Bruce Pritchard. The idea being, what if Steve Austin didn't injure his neck? What if Owen didn't accidentally drop him on his head at SummerSlam 97? he would have been available to be an opponent for Bret, and maybe in Montreal, that wouldn't have been quite the WrestleMania moment, but Stone Cold could have beat Bret Hart in Montreal. That would have changed everything. Maybe the screw job wasn't necessary. Maybe Shawn Michaels doesn't wind up wrestling The Undertaker in a casket match and injuring his back at Royal Rumble. It would have changed everything, but it happened the way it happened. So it's cool to get your perspective that you would have been just as
I can't give you the most accurate perspective because I wasn't there.
right.
It's like the thing with the Madison Square Garden with the Kliq and all that. I wasn't there. So I can't, unless you're really there, you're going to hear so many different versions of what happens that, you know, it's like anything that's ever famous and or anything that goes against what the business says. It's always going to be critiqued and criticized, and at the same time it goes on all the time. Just it's only when the big time players do it that it gets all the attention. Little guys can do anything that's wrong. They can cause equally as much bad blood, but they don't have any recognition, and nobody gives a damn. A fuck, a damn, whatever.
Yeah. Dustin Coleman wants to know, I know you took inspiration from Dusty and Superstar Graham, but how did you get to the Nature Boy persona and what made it click for you? Do you remember a particular promo or incident?
No, what got me to it was when I broke my back and I was off, and George Scott said to me, why don't we change it up? I lost some weight. I was gaining weight back, and I met Olivia Walker, Tim Wood's wife, and she decided to put a robe on me and all that. It was all George Scott's idea. I obviously knew who Buddy Rogers was. I never met him. Ultimately, I got to meet him and wrestle him twice. And, Buddy was he was different. He was way ahead of his time. He's the first guy to ever do high spots. That's something that people don't understand. He was the first high spot guy. Nobody did tackle, drop down, leapfrog, or any of that crap until Buddy came along. Not crap, any of that stuff until he came along. And he traveled with a guy named Billy Darnell. They took the show around the country. He had the same partner, same guy every night. Then he'd work his way up to the championship match, and he made huge money. Well, he made, I want to say, in 1 week in the 50s, he made $49,000 in 1 week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he told me the gate. He wrestled Pat O'Connor in Comiskey Park, 154,000. I mean, what sold out. He wrestled Carpentier in Montreal, sold out. He wrestled Whippoorwill Watson in Toronto, sold out. Wrestled Thez in St. Louis, sold out. I'm missing one in the town. And somebody in the Garden, all sold out in 1 week.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he drew a lot of money.
Speaking of money, Mike Gallagher has a great question. Mr. Flair, what's the craziest thing you've ever bought?
Oh, the craziest thing I've ever bought, like it just on the spur of the moment.
Yeah, like you bought. We've heard that occasionally Dusty would go buy a fur coat in the summer.
Oh yeah. Well, that's not the craziest. Yeah, Beth thought she busted me one time, so I took her over to the Mercedes dealership and let her pick out a 500. Paid cash for it, and we lifted up the glass and drove it off the showroom floor. All is forgiven.
Let's just rewind what we just heard here.
Huh?
You bought your wife a top of the line
at that time, an $80,000 500 convertible.
An $80,000 car for cash because she thought she had busted you on some.
Well, first of all, the rule of thumb: you never admit to being busted. That's in the unwritten book of real rules.
Yes.
You never admit to anything. Jesus Christ.
I love you dropping the real truth right here. Like,
from a veteran of 4 divorces, you never admit anything.
Well, here's the question. You're unencumbered now. 80 grand. Was it worth it?
At the time, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, Ashley and Reed were very young then. I can tell you what year it was. It was 1987.
Okay.
Okay, that car was. We kept that car forever. That model car is still very expensive.
What color was it?
It was silver,
There you go.
black top, convertible, 500.
I love it. Lucas wants to know
It
one
might
of
have been 90.
I
She's
bet
lucky I had the cash on hand. Of course, if I hadn't, she probably would have had it behind the wall. She just stole all the money from that she built in the house and threw it over the top of the wall.
wait a minute. She built a wall to hide money?
She built a wall in the basement of the house and threw cash every time I came home with cash or whatever over it. You know, when you're gone every day and your wife is handling your finances, they pretty much can do with it what they want.
Well, these are life lessons if you're a young man listening to this. I hope you're
That's
taking
absolutely the truth. If your wife is running your life, and you're traveling every day, I mean, literally every day. I wasn't home sometimes for 6 months.
right.
I didn't even know how much I was making sometimes because all the checks went to the house. People didn't pay me at the end of the week, and some did, some didn't. But it was like if I could if I could find a way to change that around. I mean, I even had an accountant. I won't bring up his name that ended up stealing money from me. So, and of course, I had an agent that stole everything from me. You know who that is. We both know who she is. That's documented, but um, who knows? I just there was no way back then. I don't think anybody. I think you trusted the people you're with, and if it didn't work out for you, you were screwed. And in my case, I was screwed by three, not just one, but three.
Speaking of great, RecTeq is great. They're an amazing company that offers wood pellet grills fueled by all natural hardwood pellets. They've got all your other lifestyle stuff too: coolers, apparel, grill accessories, and more. Grills start at just $3.99, and RecTeq has grills for every lifestyle and every budget, with a key focus on flavor, convenience, and versatility. Their factory direct pricing eliminates the middleman, and all their grills ship for free. Plus, all RecTeq pellet grills are made with high quality stainless steel and are built to last a lifetime. The flagship model is the RT700. It comes with a 40-pound pellet hopper, 702 square inches of cooking space, an awesome PID Wi Fi controller, and a 6-year bumper to bumper warranty. On a RecTeq, you can bake, you can smoke, you can sear, you can grill. Dude, you can even dehydrate all with the press of a button. And that's why those in the know choose RecTeq. So toss aside that tasteless gas grill and get rid of your old messy charcoal grill or even that overhyped brand name grill, and instead join an elite wood pellet grilling family. We're talking about RecTeq. They focus on flavor, convenience, and versatility, and now they've set the new standard in grilling. So visit recteq.com. That's RECTEQ.com, and use the promo code NatureBoy5 to get 5% off site wide. That's 5% off their grills, their coolers, their rubs and spices, their accessories, their merch. Everything's 5% off at recteq.com when you use the promo code NatureBoy5. Lucas wants to know one opponent you faced a lot in the 70s was Tiger Conway Jr. Many
Yes,
fans aren't too familiar with Conway Jr. Any good stories about your time with him, either in or out of the ring?
just in the ring. I like Tiger. We were both young kids learning, fighting for our lives. He was from Houston, Texas. I knew his dad too, and we were both in the Carolinas. Two young guys fighting to climb the ladder. Man, we slugged it out. We literally slugged it out every night. He was really a good kid.
Here's one from Uncle J89. What's your favorite storyline of all time and why?
Oh wow, my favorite storyline of all time. Pretty hard to say it's not Flair for the gold. The way that Dusty promoted that, I mean, it really was genius. I mean, he had that thing laid out, and then with Harley, um, I also love the storyline. Actually, you know what? My favorite is the storyline that played out for my. I had to think of that for a second. The storyline that played out between me and Shawn Michaels before I retired.
That was a good one. No
Yeah,
argument.
it was phenomenal. and I got to wrestle Randy and everybody. Steve Regal. And I forgot to mention all of them on my Hall of Fame speech because there was just so many, and I got when you face as many wonderful guys as I have wrestled, and tough guys, good guys, bad guys, whatever. I just tried to put everybody in the speech. And I even forgot Roddy Piper, if you can imagine that. How embarrassing that was for me. But just if you look at my career now, it's like 50 years to look back at it now, and I still enjoy watching the show. I think the kids are doing a phenomenal job. God, I'm just the one thing I will say is and this is not a question, but I hope that and I have no idea, and I have no inclination as to whether or not it'll happen, but I think that if Ashley and Bianca Belair wrestle at WrestleMania, that it'll be as big as Austin and The Rock if they build it right. They are the two best athletes ever that I've seen in my career, from Penny Banner to Kay Noble, to ever be in the same women's division. There are some other great workers, but for pure athletic ability, Bianca Belair and Ashley stand out. They could be the two best athletes in the company.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. And both legitimate Division I athletes with credentials.
Jared Wise, a friend of the show, wants to know, Rick, if you could have one more match with one of these legends who've unfortunately passed on, who would it be? Wahoo McDaniel, Blackjack Mulligan, or Harley Race?
Boy, that's a tough one, man. I loved all three of those guys. Oh God, I loved all three of them so much. It's hard to say. I'd have to say Harley, because I just loved it. Ricky, this is going to be our last match. Let's show these motherfuckers who we are and why we have been the NWA champions. Okay, kid? Yes, sir.
I love it.
That's the way he was. Ricky, fuck these kids. He used to look at Leon and go, fat boy, get up, fat man. He used to say to Leon, to Vader. He was too much, man.
That's hilarious.
God damn it. You don't hit Vader back, I'm going to beat this shit out of you.
What a fight that was.
Oh, was it ever? But I was afraid I was going to really get beat up backstage by Harley if I didn't hit him back.
That's the exact same thing Mick Foley.
He was screaming at me, hit that fat fucker back.
Steve Wright, Mr. Rightway, friend of the show, says, when did you know that you fell in love with professional wrestling? Was it a TV show? Was it a live event?
TV show. Crusher and the Bruiser, Carpentier, Vern Gagne, Ivan Putski, Igor, all these characters that came through Minneapolis, the Blackjacks, Bobby Heenan, Nick and Ray. I mean, God dang, I couldn't get enough of it. That was my birthday present every year, to go to the wrestling matches. My dad.
Fantastic question here from Richard. You wrestled Misawa for All Japan in 1987, where he was still known as Tiger Mask. Today, you're considered two of the greatest ever. What are your memories of that match? And did you follow Misawa's career in the 90s when he dominated All Japan?
What year did I wrestle?
87, according to
yeah,
Richard
NWA
here.
champion, then, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I just remember he was very talented. My two favorite, though, I mean, this is taking nothing away from him. My two favorite over there were, and I thought the two best workers ever come out of there were Muda and Fujinami. There were a couple others that were really good, but I just felt like isn't Sting going to go over to Japan for Muda's last match?
He is, yeah.
Are they wrestling each other?
I think it's a tag match, but yeah.
Tag match. They're going to be partners.
I think so.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
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 It looks like you wrestled Tiger Mask 13 minutes and 53 seconds on March the 9th, 1987. And you went over, of course. It was taped for TV, but still, what a legacy that guy went on to have, right?
Yeah,
Masawa,
absolutely.
one of the all-time greats, unfortunately passed away in the ring. If you're looking to watch some interesting stuff you've never seen before, go watch some Masawa stuff. One of the all-time greats, and you got him before he was, what he really became.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what my
fun.
career is. That's why my career is different and can't be judged by anybody else. Because nobody else lived it. I wrestled everybody. Before they were famous, after they were famous. I look at the list of names. I think about it every day now. When I'm driving somewhere, I'll think about God. Like I was listening to Kevin's podcast, and he said, we've lost 50 guys.
It's crazy.
Any of us that are alive, like Kevin said, any of us that are still alive after our lifestyle in the 80s, 90s, and I mean, Jesus Christ, think about it. I'm living proof that there's somebody up there as I sit here today. Now I'm smoking weed to relax.
Listening,
Ric Flair drip.
and apparently it goes.
But I can't hang with Mike Tyson. I can tell you that.
That dude has been. I met Mike like 10 years ago at an autograph signing, maybe with you.
With me, he was
And
good.
boy, 10 years ago.
Is that 10 years ago?
Was still. He was promoting Ric Flair drip before it was a thing. Let me just say that.
Oh yeah, sure he was.
Yeah,
he was promoting Tyson 2.0. Yeah, he's a great guy though, man. God, what a sincere guy. He moved to Palm Beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his daughter is a really, really highly ranked young tennis player.
So he's not in Vegas anymore.
No. What do you think the first thing I asked him was? He lives in Boca Raton. I said, "Have you met Chris Everett yet?" He said, "No." I said, "Either have I." I still haven't met Chris Everett.
You got to work on that.
I'm trying.
Trevor Owens has a great introspective type question, Rick. You're going to have to really think about.
There are two women that I've stood next to for a period of time, and it's happened on two different occasions with Brooke Shields and one with Chris Everett, and neither one of them gave me a glance, and those kind of incidents are few and far between, brother. The promoter from WWE said, maybe you shouldn't watch wrestling. About Brooke Shields, said, didn't watch wrestling. I'm Ric Flair. It's not just wrestling. James Bond here reporting in.
I love it so much. Chris Everett, look out. Nature Boy's coming your way.
My two favorite people to hang out with in Australia on the PR team were Money Penny and Pussy Galore. That's what I call. I said, James Bond here. Is Pussy Galore and Money Penny available?
What are we? Listen to you. I love it.
Well, Pussy Galore was a character in James Bond movie.
I'm aware.
Okay, what did I say wrong? Then Money Penny was just a secretary.
Not expecting to hear that. It's fantastic. Trevor Owens wants to know, Rick, name 3 people you need to make amends with, and what's the holdup? That's interesting because, man, as life goes on, we all sort of have our fallings out here and there, and sometimes we get a little reflective and we look back and say, boy, I wish I had that one to do over again. Is there anybody out there you feel like you want to make amends with one day? You wish you were on better terms with again, that maybe you've fallen out of touch with, or what have you?
No, because if they fell in touch with me, I didn't fall in touch with them. I don't know anybody in amends for anything. A lot of people owe me a lot of thank yous, and you know who they are.
Yeah.
We've discussed that. It should be thank you, Rick, universally.
Raven for Life on Twitter says, with all the matches you've been in, what crowd made you the most nervous to go out and do your thing? Was there one particular crowd that you were nervous to perform in front of?
Well, maybe the most nervous I ever was with Taker in Toronto,
Yeah.
because they clearly were expecting something big out of me. And physically, I had it. I had no problem physically. And I was 56 years old. You know what I mean? So I'm putting him in a spot where I'm expected to have. He selected me, which put pressure on me.
Right.
I was honored to be in that position, but I think I probably ate a Xanax, a total of little quarters at a time before I hit the ring.
Well, hey, it happens.
No, I was that stressed out. Once I got in there and once I realized I could do it, like every other time, I felt great. But when I missed that flip in the corner, I went, oh God, here we go. And then he said, try it again, kid. And then once he hit me in the boot, I cut myself. We were off and running.
Tom Phillips wants to know, what's your favorite place outside the U.S. to wrestle?
Wow. Japan or Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia. Wow, that's a good one. Hadn't heard that.
Yeah, it's a long way to get there though, but they're great fans. Japan's great too. Yeah, it's I used to love going to Puerto Rico, but I didn't realize until I was there recently how bad the COVID it actually devastated Puerto Rico. They're having a hard time coming back. As we sit here right now, they're still recovering from COVID. We're in a much better place over here.
There is a love for the cultura of lucha. Lucha, it's part of the heritage of Mexico. It is recognized as part of its culture, and they have their own wrestling syndicate. And when you are a luchador in Mexico, you are well respected. For Mexican people, there is football, which is soccer, and there's lucha. That's it. I believe that the touch of the culture of Mexico was very, very instrumental in a lot of the developments of Canadian stars and American stars. In a way, they were touched by this incredible heroes, the masked luchadores and luchadoras. If you really talk to them, they will tell you that there was a huge influence on how that approach came into help their careers, a lot of them. But the mask is like everything. The mask is the passion. A luchador and a luchadora will protect their mask with their lives. Guys like El Santo or guys like Blue Demon or Mil Mascaras, they will not take their mask off for you until they're certain that you will protect that secret of the identity. So the mask is a culture thing, but it's also that part that sets them into another qualification. And you have like 200 million fans that are there for us to reach. And I think that AAA has been doing a fantastic job. And luchador loves lucha. Luchador respects lucha libre. And the luchador or luchadora will do their best to keep that passion going.
Here's a great one. This is from Terry. Wrestling in the Superdome in the 80s. After the matches, where did you go? Bourbon Street can't be an answer. Be more specific. Any good New Orleans stories, Rick?
Oh God, the main place I went to the Opera House after the matches. That was the best bar in town. I think it had a stage too.
Well, look at there.
I know I fell out of the roof of the Mercedes limousine I was riding in. So I must have had a good time.
Yeah, I think Jackie Crockett told that story when we sat down to interview him for the docuseries for the last.
Yeah.
Tell us about you falling out of the sunroof of a limo.
Yeah, and in New Orleans, it broke off. It broke off the fin on the Mercedes. Bill Watts called me and said, "Heard something happened to the Mercedes. I ran into you last night." I said, "Not to my knowledge, Bill."
I love it.
The world champion on tour, brother. When I hit a town, did the best I could to entertain everybody for as long a period of time as they wanted me to, man. I entertained the world and myself afterwards. I can tell you that. Naitch, the verb Naitch. Love Kevin Nash for that. The verb. When you start calling someone a verb, they're famous.
The real Tom wants
Hell,
to know,
you've been out with me. Am I famous?
yes, no doubt about it. Real Tom wants to know, what's your best
I've got
story?
I've got 2 daughters and one with their husbands hanging around me. That's a terrible thing to say and a terrible way to live a life.
Well, it means somebody's having a lot of fun, and it means you're having more fun than we are, probably.
Andrade and you aren't allowed to hang around me.
Ain't
That's
that some shit?
bullshit.
That's some shit, man. You were once upon a time allowed to hang out with Terry Gordy. He wants to know, what's your best Terry Gordy story, and did you ever party with the birds?
Oh God, have I partied with the birds? Yeah. Terry Gordy and I almost got into it one night. It was Jimmy Crockett's birthday party at the Hilton in Raleigh, and Terry and Buddy and I and Harley, of course, Harley Race was there, and Michael Hayes and Buddy and Terry just they were like the Horsemen, but they're a little bit wilder, you know, just with jokes and pranks and shit like that. We didn't do that. We just had fun. And I can't remember what Gordy did, but he and I got into it, and Harley Race said, Harley stepped in, probably saved my life, and said, "Hey, this is a birthday party. Both of you sit down and shut the fuck up." Yes, sir.
It's tremendous.
You put us both in timeout.
Eshawn Wrestling says, "Hey Naitch, with Triple H at the helm of WWE, could you see yourself making a return to the company at some point?"
I don't know what I would do. I mean, I'd love to be part of the company and do stuff with them, but I don't know. It's funny, they're doing this huge documentary now, as you know, that'll air it's either going to air Thanksgiving week or the week before Christmas. I think they're leaning toward Thanksgiving. And I think the name of it will be some names going around, but I think it's called Finding Flair. And I've got this will be better than my 30 for 30 on ESPN, because I made them promise me that whatever I said, they wouldn't edit. But they had, I mean, I'm not going to do something, it's going to be edited again, right? So,
Right.
And it's been passionate, and man, I've expressed everything that I thought was good or bad in my life. I discussed my personal life, my personal problems, family problems, wrestling problems, issues with people that I've had. I mean, I just answered questions, and I answered them as truthfully as I could. And I hope you can edit this out, Steve. What's the guy's name that's doing the
Tom Rinaldi.
Yeah, Tom Rinaldi. I mean, how big does it get when you got Tom Rinaldi doing it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had 12 hours of Tom Rinaldi. So you can imagine. He asked me every goddamn question in the world.
Well, here's a question he might not have asked, but Troy Hutton did. Can Naitch tell us the story of when he and Piper had a tug of war with their SUVs?
Jesus Christ, in the Kentucky Fried Chicken parking lot in Rock Hill.
How in the world does this happen? Take us through this.
It was me and Piper against Wooooo. Wooooo had a Bronco and I had a Jeep Wagoneer. Or maybe he was driving Wooooo. I can't remember. How did anything happen with me and Piper? Here's the deal. One time, this is the same thing. So the same, we used to meet at the parking lot with Holiday on one side of the road, right in the Carolina border of North and South Carolina. Leave our cars there and we meet our rides, right? So Rufus R. Jones brought to Columbia. Rufus brought some moonshine. And I think it was the same night. So we were drinking that damn moonshine coming back home. And Rufus was Piper. Piper was drinking it like water. And I think we got in the cars and we put nose to nose, the 4-wheel drive on, just pushing each other around the parking lot. The usual kind of stuff we used to do. So the next day at TV, Gene Anderson walking around. Where's Rufus? Where's Rufus? They found Rufus on the hood of his car for the Holiday Inn at 11 o'clock in the morning.
My gosh.
Yeah, Rufus, do not mess with Roddy Piper, please.
Good old
Oh,
day.
yeah, you have no idea. You would have 1 week with us in the Carolinas, man. It was golden.
Kel, the coach, wants to know, Rick, did you ever have an acting coach, someone in the business who helped you with promos, or was it all just in the moment?
Just in the moment. Just like right now, in the moment.
Here's a fun one. You're going to have to think about this one. David Mitchell Jr. wants to know, what's the coolest gesture a fan ever did for you while you were on the road? Maybe you were broken down, you needed a lift somewhere, you lost something, you needed
Coolest
something.
gesture a fan did for me? I think the coolest gesture the fans have ever done for me is bring me the photo albums that they've made of me over the years.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, that was a long time ago, but I can remember this girl named Vicky, a really sweet girl that was just a huge fan of mine, and she literally handed me an album of pictures I'd never even seen of me and the Horsemen, me wrestling like Magnum TA, kind of like that stuff, that thing you sent me yesterday, the lifestyles of the rich and famous, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And, I forget, until people, that's the stuff that creates nostalgia and the stuff that other people don't have that I have access to. I mean, aside from the 30 for 30, and then this thing called Evil, and then to think that something that's going to come out in November will be better than either of those is really saying a lot. So I'm very proud of it. And I think it's going to be called Finding Flair,
I can't
which
wait.
might be hard to do.
Yeah. If you find him, let us know.
Yeah. Listen, if you find him, get back to me, will you?
Yes. Logan Lee wants to know, what do you miss most about living in Charlotte?
Oh God, what do I miss most? Well, I can't say that I missed it initially, but I I could do anything in Charlotte that I want to do. If that makes sense.
Yep.
I mean, the town just treated me so great. I mean, everybody knew me, and I was never off that much. But later on, when I finally got to hang around a little bit and go out, I mean, I met so many wonderful people there. An incredible number of great people. It's a beautiful town. I'm going back this week to go to Reed's gravesite to film something for the documentary. So he's buried in a beautiful memorial. Um, um, what are they called? Mausoleums.
Yep. Yep.
And we're going to shoot that for the documentary. But I just remember Ashley and Reed, high school sports. I think Megan liked Charlotte. She didn't move down there for, she and I don't think she ever thought about going back to Minneapolis after living in Charlotte.
No.
She loved it. It was a great town. I mean, the family was there. Just nothing but great memories.
David McKenzie has a pretty controversial question. We'll edit it out if you don't want to answer, but the other side's done a lot of talking, so maybe here's a platform. David wants to know, is he ever going to bring up the Mark Madden controversy? Of course, everybody knows you and Mark were friends for a long, long time. Took a stab at a podcast, and then things went sideways, and here we are. And Mark's talked about it quite a bit, but you've just sort of left it alone. Want to keep doing that?
I don't even know that Mark talked about it a lot. So I told you to invite him to Starrcast.
Yeah.
So whatever problem Mark has, he's got with himself. He lost a good friend. But I got nothing bad to say about him. He certainly doesn't need me. He does very well with his radio show.
Yes, he does.
I could bring up the Steelers right now, but
He's probably doing that himself. If I had,
he's I know for a fact he's raising hell with somebody.
Mayhem wants to know: can you tell a Sherri Martel story?
Mm-hmm. When we turn off the show.
I love you for that.
I'll tell you a Sherri Martel story that's legit. I mean, so when my first day in WWE is Dayton, Ohio. So Sherri and I have been friends forever, and I called her and said I'm coming in, and we met that night at the Marriott, and man, we got drunk, and we were late for TV. My first day there, my first day, and Vince, I walk in the door, and Vince said, "What do you? It's your first day." I said, "Nothing." I said, he said, "When I tell you to be here at 1 o'clock, I mean 1 o'clock. It's $500 right now, and you need to set an example. I mean, right from the beginning." Yes, sir. That was it. I couldn't say Sherri kept me up all night.
Right. No,
but Sherri was so much fun. She was, I mean, literally like Sherri and I and Gene, Sherri and I and Gene Okerlund, we were supposed to be over to Pittsburgh and flying out of Pittsburgh to go on a European tour. And Sherri and I and Gene Okerlund stayed in Charleston, West Virginia, to go to a place called Joey's. We closed at Joey's up at like 4 o'clock, and then we drove like hell. We barely made our flights from Pittsburgh to go to New York and then fly overseas. But yeah, she was just a great person. I mean, and she was so damn talented. If you look back at those matches with me and Hulk and Jimmy Hart and that, or me and Sting, and that one where we changed the title, they don't count as a title change. There was nothing she couldn't do, and she loved the business, boy, and she protected it. I mean, at the Hall of Fame, you know, she went down the whole list of when she was being inducted. And I said, God, she left me off. Thank God. I was sitting there with Tiffany. And then she said, and my last but not least. Ta-da. Thank you, Sherri. God bless you, baby. You were the best.
Well, the best is playing this Saturday. Alabama is going to be playing against.
Oh my God! Listen, I tried calling you. You wouldn't answer the phone. Don't deny it. I tried calling you. I was on the road. You were the luckiest son of a bitch alive.
Yes, we are.
If A&M had got it, I can't believe it. When it was 14-7, I was dying. I said, I'm going to get off this plane. It's going to be 24-7. I'm going to call Conrad. He's going to say, oh, bullshit. But this week, Garrett, you're playing in that quarterback ears I heard is out for the rest of the season.
Oh, you've heard bad information. But let me assure you,
Young going to play?
Yeah, Bryce is going to be there.
He's going to be there. Is he going to play?
Well, we have to tune in to find out.
Listen, the way they're treating these quarterbacks these days, I mean, God, you can't even. Did you see the two plays this weekend that were so highly contested last night with Chris Jones and the quarterback for a car from the Raiders? You see that?
I missed that one.
And then the one where they're roughing the passer.
Oh, that was a little crazy.
But you can't throw Tom Brady around. God damn, he's a national treasure.
Oh my God! Listen to you.
He is.
Hey, so
man,
you flip flop.
He's 7 times. 7 times.
Oh, goat! I gotta have a question here. You got Tennessee this weekend. Are you really siding with Jeff freaking Jarrett? Come on,
Jeff Jarrett, but what?
Well, he's a damn volunteer.
No, he's a Vanderbilt guy.
Oh, can you imagine Jeff Jarrett, the Mensa himself, going over to Van? There's no way.
Now, Kevin Nash is a volunteer, not Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett claims it. He's got that on.
What? He can go to school there.
He's got the shit all over his house.
Well, good for him. He can go to school there.
I'm just asking, are you sincerely picking the Volunteers to upset Alabama this weekend?
No. Remember I told you I pledged this year. I did early enroll. I pledged or I committed to Michigan. That's all I care about. But I would love to see Tennessee beat Alabama. I would love to see Ole Miss beat Alabama.
I just want to remind you.
I think Nature Boy Lane Kiffin is going to do real well.
I love me Nature Boy Lane Kiffin. That's
me too. How's Morgan doing in Alabama?
See, that's what I wanted to get to. Your goddamn granddaughter goes to Alabama and you're pulling for the other team. You really are a heel. Look at you.
No, listen, she went to the state with the most money in it. That's the Conrad.
Oh my gosh. Look at you.
There's not the economic structure of going to Alabama and going to Carolina are two different things. When you give you 100 miles from mom and her what does she have what kind of SUV she have, a Rolls Royce?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that does. Okay, what does she have again?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, she's got a Rolls Royce SUV. God damn it. And you've got 4 of them and a Rolls Royce.
Oh gosh.
Why would she go to Carolina?
I agree. She didn't.
I do tell you this. I do want to go to Tuscaloosa for a game though.
Well, we got to make that happen. And
I know, man. Well, let's legalize marijuana in Alabama so I can come.
I would love to make that happen, but let me tell you this: when you do visit,
the political pull of Conrad Thompson in the state of Alabama, Huntsville is actually as nice a town right now as there is anywhere in the country.
Yes,
and I think a lot of that's because you brought the game to it, man.
I love.
FBI came. I don't know who they're checking out in Huntsville, but
not me,
not you for sure.
You know, I do have one request. When you come to Tuscaloosa to visit and watch the game, like, you're forbidden from going to Morgan's sorority. You know that, right?
Oh, I would never go to a sorority, but I will go to a college bar with her.
They're going to put a sign out front.
She'll say, Papa Rick, all the kids love you. I'll say, yes, they do. Because I am a college kid.
That right there is a real conversation, and it's going to happen.
Hey, I went to one of the games when didn't go to a game, but I went when we rolled Paris and now Summer. They're both Gators now, right?
Yep.
And in Gainesville, I've had the Swamp is still there. That bar called the Swamp. I used to hang out with Steve Spurrier and that. There's nothing like college football. I mean, I hate it. To think that we're 5 games in or 6 games in, I just can't stand it. It's going by so fast. But
it'll be here before you know it, man. This Saturday.
I know. Well, the hockey starts tonight. NBA starts pretty quick. Well, this town's on fire. You know that, right?
Oh yeah.
When are you going to come visit again? This is the fraternity house.
I can do it next week.
Okay.
This weekend.
I want to see. Let's get permission. Get the boss in there. Have the boss come in the room.
Well, she's working. She's not here right now.
Oh God. Okay. I'm going to text her right now. Can Conrad come to the fraternity house?
Well, the question should be,
because we're going to sell Wooooo wings.
If you say, why don't you and Conrad come down, and then she has to work, she's not listening to our podcast. This is just me and you talking right now. I can tell it. Otherwise,
the way it was explained to me was that you and Dave Green were coming.
Yes.
Joe and I were going to rent an SUV, huge, and put Wooooo wings on it. We were going to drive around to every college campus. And
I love it. I think that's a great plan. And when I hang up, I'm going to make that happen. Dave,
listen, we go to South Tampa.
Yep.
We go over to UFC.
Okay.
We drive over to Gainesville. We drive to Tallahassee. We drive to Miami. We make a loop and stop at every bar on the way through. Woo wings.
Should be able to do it in about 6 weeks. Looking forward.
I'm telling you, Joe Gomez has got the mat, and Joe knows everybody in Florida.
What we're talking about, boys and girls, is Wooooo Wings, open now in Nashville, San Antonio, Jacksonville, Huntsville, Tuscaloosa. A bunch of new locations coming online. Rick and I just got the report yesterday, like a dozen new locations. And if you want to, in your area, tell your favorite bar or restaurant to visit RicFlairWings.com for more information on how to become a partner. That's RicFlairWings.com. This is a virtual restaurant concept that essentially operates inside another restaurant, but with legendary flavors, these championship wings, the only ones worthy of carrying the Nature Boys name. It's Wooooo Wings. You can order them right now on Uber Eats or Postmates if you're in Nashville, San Antonio, Jacksonville, Huntsville, or Tuscaloosa. But tell your favorite restaurant or bar to check out RicFlairWings.com. How about that, Rick? We're gonna make a business trip down to Florida. I'm for it.
I love it, man.
This weekend, by the way, it's TripleMania right after Alabama stomps Tennessee. I'm going to be in Mexico City, Rick, this weekend watching my first ever TripleMania. I've been to a WrestleMania,
Oh, you are going.
a Wrestle Kingdom. I've never been to a TripleMania. You were at one a couple of years ago. Andrade took on Kenny Omega. You were in Andrade's corner.
Yeah.
That was quite the spectacle, was it not?
Yeah. So that was what I was at before, right?
Yep.
TripleMania. So you're meeting with that same guy, right?
Yep.
Fantastic.
We're going to have a lot of fun. Hope you guys check it out. You can watch it on Fight over at watchtriplemania.com. The main event is something else, man. It's mask versus mask. Viano number 4 taking on Pentagon Jr. Everybody knows about Pentagon on this program, but what about the other match everybody's talking about? Vikingo is going to be taking on, and that he's the next big thing. Everybody says he's the next big thing. He's taking on Rey Fenix, who a lot of people believe is one of, if not the best wrestler in the world, certainly in the conversation. It's going to be something for everybody. It's watchtriplemania.com. It's coming up this Saturday. Hurry over, watchtriplemania.com. It's only $22, Rick. So get some free time. Have them streamcast it up to the bar TV there. Let's watch together.
Well, Saturday I'll be in Dallas.
Oh, I've had some fun in Dallas before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, who hasn't?
Absolutely.
I'll be with David Manning.
I'm actually connecting through Dallas, coming and going. I may have to holler at you, see if you're still there.
Yeah, what day are you coming back?
Sunday.
Well, why don't you stay Sunday and watch football with me?
Boy, that'd be terrible if I had a layover that just went
Yeah, why not? You don't want to miss all that football.
No, I agree. I'm going to work on that. I got to go do some selling with the wife right now. And next week, I'm hoping I'm selling you guys on tuning in to another To Be the Man. We're going to watch Ric Flair drop the world title to Bret Hart. That's right. Bret Hart's first ever title win next week, right here on To Be the Man with Ric Flair.
Woo!